Okay, here we go. The beginning of a new week. It's August 5th. I've sort of been banished from my home office because there's all kinds of construction and stuff going on. So I'm coming to you from my front porch outdoors. There's a playground across the way, so forgive me if there are joyful sounds of play and fun coming from the other side there. So let's see. Monday, Mindfulness Mondays. Thought we'd drop back into some really basic practice today. Here's a favorite quote of mine from Maya Angelou. If you must look back, do so forgivingly. If you must look forward, do so prayerfully. However, the wisest thing you can do is be present in the present gratefully. And of course, she has such a wonderful way with words. That's the tone, I think, for today's practice. While she's coming at this from a poetic standpoint, I'll add in this idea right here. Let's take a look at what's actually happening neurologically or biologically as we do this. So the goal is to not dwell on the past, not get distracted by the future, but really stay in the here and now. So in some ways, that's the definition of mindfulness, right? It's like I am actually present with what is happening right here, right now, rather than getting lost in the past or the future. So what's happening there from a neurologic standpoint is we choose something to focus on, and it activates this. Technically, it's called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So dorsolateral means dorso, as in like the dorsal fin of, let's say, a shark or a dolphin. Lateral meaning on the side. So this is the top side part of the prefrontal cortex. This part sort of behind our eyebrow. That's the part that gets a lot of blood, sort of oxygenated and glucose-rich blood, when we decide to focus on something in the present moment. So that gets activated, and then as we've all had this experience, we focus, we focus, we focus, and at some point, the mind says, "Oh gosh, I wonder what I'm going to have for lunch," or "I wonder why so and so said what she said, the other night." In other words, our mind starts to wander, and we call this distraction. So when we look at what happens to the brain in an fMRI, it's all of these other parts of the brain get activated. So we move the attention from this dorsolateral prefrontal cortex area to all these other brain regions. Why? Because our mind is wandering and we're thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Then comes this wonderful sensation that I hope you'll all experience consciously several times today, and that is we notice the distraction. The technical term for this is called interoception. So that means the internal perception of what it's like to notice that, wait a second, I'm not focusing on my breath, or I'm not focusing on the thing that I chose anymore. In fact, I can feel in my body that I've been distracted and that I'm sort of, my mind is wandering. We notice that, and then we reactivate or reorient our attention back to what we started off with. In other words, we're reactivating the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So we end up with this. Oops, I missed those slides. But there's a kind of loop that we're going to engage in today. It's a workout. Like, we're going to decide to focus on something. We're going to try to hold it, and then inevitably, the mind is going to wander. It's not a problem. It's not a, it's not a mistake. It's just what the mind does. And then we're going to, at that moment, notice what it feels like in our body to be like, how do I know my mind is wandering? Oh, this is what it feels like. And then we'll reorient back to where we started. And we'll just do that over and over again. And that's the mindfulness workout, if you will. So let's try that for the time that we have remaining. So go ahead and close your eyes. And the first move is to drop into the present moment. So what is happening right now in this moment? Where are you? What's the orientation of your body? Meaning, are you standing? Are you sitting? Are you lying down? Just keep it really simple and just notice. This is where I am in this moment, in space and time. And that's it. It's pretty simple. Let's see if we can keep it that simple. And today, instead of focusing on breath, I'm going to suggest that we focus on our feet and contact with the ground. So see if you can bring your full attention to the sensation of having feet that are touching the ground. Like, how do you know that you have feet? And how do you know that there's a ground that they're in touch with? Like, notice the subjective sensation of your feet in contact with the ground. And at this point, you've probably experienced some distractions. So noticing what are those distractions? Like, where did your mind go? What are the images or what are the words that you're noticing that took you away from this experience of groundedness? And just gently bring your attention back to that sensation of being in touch with the ground. You'll probably notice all kinds of other sensations. Like my auditory environment is pretty active and noisy right now with birds and kids and other things happening. I also experience breath. There's the body's breathing. But throughout all of that, I can still maintain a direct sense of contact with the experience of being in touch with the ground. So see if you can maintain that. And it's okay to lose that focus. It's just again what the brain does. It's always looking for other things to focus on. And see if you can notice what it feels like to lose that sense of focus. This is the interoception part. And then gently bring your attention back to groundedness. And again, when you notice the mind wandering, gently bring it back right here, right now, being in contact with the ground. Oftentimes, we're not even aware of everything else that's going on around us until we try to actually just focus on one thing. And then we begin to notice smells and sounds and sensations. Just gently come on back to the experience of being in contact with the ground. It was surprising to me how simple the instructions are, yet how difficult it is to maintain them over time. And just keeping that singular focus is incredibly difficult. It could feel really frustrating, although I'm encouraging you to relax that if there is frustration or irritation that comes with some narrative about not being able to maintain that focus, just notice that too. It's just more brain stuff, more brain activity. And go ahead and take a deep breath in, long exhale through the mouth, and then hold the exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another deep inhale, long exhale, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and open your eyes. And even with the eyes open now, see if you can still maintain connection with that interoceptive experience of being in contact with the ground. So I think that the idea here of this kind of practice is not to become a really really good meditator, but it's to sort of activate, just like I showed, those different parts of the brain that have to do with being able to focus, noticing distractions, and then reorienting the focus. That, of course, comes in really handy when we're doing work, hanging out with our kids, having conversations with our partners. Like this is like a really foundational, well-being or positivity skill, and that's why I think it's worth practicing. Anyway, hope everyone has a great day. Same time, same place tomorrow. I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anyone wants to connect. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. Take care.